But this is the department head meeting for June 15th, 2022. It's another week that we shall not forget in Park County. I don't know when we get a break. Down here in Gardner, we had a long press conference with the superintendent yesterday. We had over 100 media on the line. You may be seeing lots of reports out there. They asked lots of questions about Yellowstone Park. I'll try to summarize it if you haven't heard it already. The north and northeast entrances, both in Park County, will most likely be closed all season. Extensive damage between Gardner and Mammoth, extensive damage between Mammoth and Cook City Silvergate. They're going to try within a few days or a week plus to open the other three entrances and allow traffic just on the lower loop. It looks like they'll drop the gate at Canyon, so you won't be able to go north over Dunraven Pass, and like they'll drop the gate at Norris, so you won't be able to go north to Mammoth. There may be timed entry and a reservation system, but that will allow for probably a fair bit of activity at those entrances. Gardner and Cook City Silvergate, once they get the transportation corridors opened up, will only see one-way traffic in, either from the north for Gardner or from Cody and Beartooth Pass, assuming that reopens, when things get open that way. So Gardner, Cook City, Silvergate, Livingston are all going to suffer economically. I actually talked to the governor about an hour ago. He's tuned in. He knows Jackie Haynes with that local economic development district. We're going to try to find ways to provide some relief for some of these businesses. Some of the Gardner businesses I've talked to have already laid off employees. There's one that said they have $15,000 of reservations that they have to make refunds to. So on top of no cash flow for the summer, they're having to dip into cash that was already in their bank accounts. So it's going to be really hard for our businesses. And then just to back up a little bit, we've got infrastructure challenges, and maybe I'll kick it to Matt to talk about damage and prospects for our roads and bridges across the county. This is hardly a Gardner-only issue. That's just where I happen to be. We know Livingston was hit hard, and talking with the governor, we know Red Lodge and other areas were hit hard, but there's a sharp focus on Yellowstone Park right now, and I'd like to think that that focus can help bring attention and resources with it.
Yeah, so in most of Park County, we have access to everywhere from county roads. That is including detours. So places like where Carbella Bridge went out, we have access through the old truck route. So that's one of the lucky things is that we have those different ways in. The big one that doesn't have that is Cook City. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to get out there this afternoon or tomorrow to take a look. Having to go around the long way potentially. But yeah, there's pretty extensive damage. Luckily, immediate life safety of being able to get in and out most places, we've been able to secure that. We worked to get through Yankee Gym yesterday using an alternate route to get there. It sounds like the sheriff's department was pretty worried that we'd have weeks when we couldn't get there. Luckily, the road hadn't washed out too bad, and we were able to actually secure access about noon yesterday back to Gardner. The original plan was to fly all the tourists out of Gardner on Chinook helicopters, so not having to do that is definitely easier. Refuse, I think one of the things we're going to have to decide as a commission and as a community is as we're going through all of the repair and recovery from this flooding event, do we want to allow people to just use the green box sites and expect that our rates are going to have to go up for a year because of this flooding event, or do we want to actually try to make people have contractors that haul to Logan or the city themselves? We're looking at getting a contractor to access Cook City from the Cody side for refuse up there, just because it's extremely long way around for my employees to go. That's everything I've got off the top of my head at the moment. 89 North is closed from Old Clyde Park Road to 89 or to the interstate. That train trestle bridge is eroding rapidly on one abutment. The officers out there said they felt that the middle abutment shifted about 1:30 last night as well. If that bridge goes, it crashes into 89 North and wipes it out in less than a minute. We do have MDT putting some scour protection in there, hopefully starting tomorrow using a contractor. Yeah, that's most of what I've got.
Hey, I can't really tell who all's in the room. Clint, could you maybe do a round robin and maybe you yourself pitch in first with what's going on in your world?
Sure. I guess in my world, it's just the phone calls, loss of business. The RV park along the Yellowstone had 100% cancellations last 2 days. They're thinking they're going to close their doors because they can't operate with 1 or 2 campers. Most of those people stay there to go to the Yellowstone Park. So I think we'll see that up and down the valley for sure, and in Livingston also. The irrigation canal is gone up by Fridley Creek in the Yellowstone. That is irrigation water for most of the Paradise Valley, at least on the west side of the river. And the ranchers are fine now, but after the first cutting, they're going to need water. And I didn't really have nothing to tell them about what they can and can't do. I give them the governor's number and FEMA's number, but I don't know how that's going to work. But I guarantee you they're not going to have irrigation water after the first cutting. So other than that, just a lot of calls. A lot of people are concerned about the people on the other side of the river at Bannock Trail. Are they able to get out, or have we had contact with them? Does anybody know?
There are. I just talked to Troy, the fire chief out there, a minute ago before this call. They legally don't have access. It sounds like people are choosing to drive across Monument Bridge. That one is scour critical, and I am worried that it'll collapse underneath someone. There was also a mandatory evacuation there, and they evac several people out of there. So there's also an argument to be made that people chose to trap themselves back there. We do, the contractor's scheduled to start July to replace those bridges. When I get out there, I'm going to take a look at the high water, see if it's possible to get through there. The other option we have is the potential of bringing some large steel beams we have from Livingston around over there and creating a temporary deck over the over Monument Ave or one of those bridges. That's quite a bit of work for 2 individuals or 3 individuals that are still living back there. But once I get eyes on up there, I think that's an assessment we can do a little better of.
Okay. That's all I have. One question I had is, through FEMA or whatever else, can we put our additional garbage rates onto that?
I've talked to Erica about that, and she thinks at least the transportation outside of Cook, that we could do that one. I haven't had a chance to talk with her about the additional amount of garbage that we'll have. I'll have that discussion with her today. It'd just be a little harder to break that out, I guess. But I mean, that's not a bad idea. We'll see if we can do it.
Well, Kristen is taking note of that too, so she'll do some checking into that.
So Matt,
Okay.
doing the FEMA documentation, and I have a note just to check with them on, I think you could just compare it to last year's expenses at the same time period, all the way through whatever December. And that difference obviously is going to be the extra loads that are caused by all the refuse from this flood.
I guess the other thing I didn't think about is we don't have the tourism not being here as it normally is in the summer. We might see a drop in the refuse from that, so it could break even. Yeah, we'll see.
Okay. That's all I have.
This is Molly Waldem.
Did you turn- Go, Molly.
Oh, okay. No, I was just gonna say the schools are all fine in the southern end of the county. Most of the concern, of course, is with Gardner, with the long-term consequences of this, with enrollment and potential busing issues in the fall. So I guess we'll just have to see what happens. I spoke with Laura in Cook, and she was able to dig trenches around the school and the teacherage so that the flooding there was minimal. And she's happy being up there, which is crazy. But she'd rather be there than here, she said. So
Yeah.
that's all I have.
It's Kristen, and I just came back to work today, so I'll be here the rest of the week, dealing with the FEMA documentation and dealing with our state director on that. So Matt, I've added your info to the list, and been working with Erica on some of those codes that you guys have seen. You just have to kind of be detailed if it's FEMA related. They do get pretty picky during their audits, so just make sure you write a good description of why it's related to the flood. And, Matt, maybe we saved some money because we had grant money for those 3 Cook City bridges to remove those 3 bridges. So they're gone now. So maybe we can use that for something else, right? Kidding. That's all I have.
Kristen, I think those are conversations that maybe you and I should have, but I think there are some opportunities there that we should discuss.
Yeah. Okay.
Hello, this is Molly Bradbury. Really don't have much how it affects my office, but Clint here, about the ditch, with water rights and stuff. I don't know, maybe they can reach out to the water court in Bozeman.
Yeah, and they're a water district, and they have all those numbers. I think
Right.
they just called me to let me know what's going on,
Yeah.
and they're kind of in a rush, but that was a large structure there. And that just, I can't see that being fixed before the end of the first cutting.
Right. If you want, I know some of the folks over there. We have a good rapport. I could call them if you want. I don't know if that would help.
Sure, it wouldn't hurt.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also the DNRC, we work with them too with the water rights stuff. So maybe I could reach out and just see
Yeah.
what they think and get you a number or something.
Great. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And I do want everybody to know when my husband and I were like watching the Yellowstone on our porch, I think I told him a bright spot in this is that I really think that we've got really good leadership and good people in place to handle this. Like Matt, you're like an amazing road guy. And I said,
Oh,
I'm
thank
really glad he's here for this than everybody that's in place.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So if there's a bright spot, I think we got really smart people. Anyway, that's it.
Yeah, Mark Brammer with the museum. The weird thing, I guess, is yesterday we saw quite an uptick in visitors, and we're just open from noon. Bad part about that is it's just me there right now. So we're closed right now, but people are looking for something to do. They're coming to the museum because they can't go to the park, which is great, but they're all very sad.
Yeah.
I came here from Iowa. I'm here from Indiana. So it's, they're still here. They just don't know what to do right now. So we're trying to get a list together of where we can send folks.
That's nice.
So any ideas, please send them my way. Other than that, we did have our offsite collection storage apparently got about 3 to 5 feet of water in it. So I ran over there before this. I can get to it. So I'm going to go back after this meeting and see what happened to that stuff. It's a pretty big assortment of pieces we have over there. So I'm a little worried. Like everyone else, I'll probably be trying to find a forklift because it's some of our heavier items that are stored in this area. But yeah, that's kind of what we're dealing with that. So.
My first department head meeting. I'm Ashley Smith. I'm the compliance officer.
Congratulations.
Well,
Thank you. Yeah. So really getting thrown into the fire here. Yeah, seriously. So definitely, things have shifted since the flood. And really just going off, what Mike in Lawson have to do, as well as, the direction from the DNRC as far as notifying people in their floodplains and working on permits and compliance. So it's going to be a huge undertaking. So I can't wait for them to come tomorrow. No, probably no more.
I'm Kendra Lester. I'm the Park County attorney, and our office's involvement obviously is emergency resolutions and things of that nature that need to be drafted and reviewed. I have also fielded questions from law enforcement, giving me a heads up as to what they're intending to do, and we haven't had any red flags in terms of what they've needed to do thus far. And in my mind, public safety is always paramount, but I do appreciate them, giving me a heads up as to any potential for legal issues that may arise in their decisions that they're making in terms of rerouting people and those kinds of things. But, it's probably inevitable that at some point some litigation will arise out of this. And, so I do appreciate the heads up. And I think that law enforcement is also handling this, as with Matt and the commissioners and everyone, very well. And I appreciate that.
Mike, do you want to go?
Yep. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
So as Ashley alluded to, Lawson has put together a meeting tomorrow with folks from DNRC. We are hoping to get assistance, which they've indicated they would be able to provide to some of the counties that are more heavily hit with flooding. And as Ashley alluded to, we will be notifying everybody in the regulated flood hazard area that succumbed to flooding. And just so the commissioners know, or any of you know, when it comes to efforts to rebuild, nobody is permitted to rebuild until after their property has been assessed for damage. Part of our participation in the flood insurance rate program requires us to do damage assessments for all structures that were flooded within the regulated flood hazard area. So whether it's 9th Street Island, whether it's anybody in the canyon, and then throughout the valley. So if people call and ask what they can do, they're technically not supposed to do anything at this point. And we're going to be figuring out exactly how we're supposed to notify them, and then what it's going to look like for Park County in terms of resources needed, how much assistance we can get from DNRC as we go forward. I should also note, and we've been getting questions for folks who have flooded that are not in the regulated flood hazard area. And if they don't have insurance, at this point, we know of no reimbursement or funding mechanisms to assist them. in the cost accrued in rebuilding and dealing with the damage. So our obligation and requirement as a participating community in the NFIP program only involves flooding in the regulated flood hazard area. So we'll keep the commission posted as far as what that's going to look like and what additional resources we may need from the commission in order to get all of that done.
Note that all work will need permits and anything substantially damaged will need to be brought into compliance.
Yeah, I'll just here. Lawson's here. I'll let him state that.
Just to follow up. Yeah, just to follow up on what Mike said, all work in the regulated flood hazard area in terms of repairs and rehabilitation does require a floodplain permit per federal and state law through our office, and anything determined to be substantially damaged. So if a house, from the 50s was not built to current standards and it sustained more than 50% of the structure's value and damages, that property is supposed to be brought up to current compliance regulations. Because we participate in the National Flood Insurance Program, which does provide a host of benefits, that's not a requirement that the commission is able to waive. That's federal law. What we can do, and once I talk to DNRC tomorrow, they're bringing a team out to meet with us. We are able to waive those permitting fees, but it's going to be a big undertaking. There's quite a few structures. We're going to have to do damage assessment for, permitting for, and hopefully we don't have too many substantial damages, but I'm sure there's going to be some blowback.
And then too, if you know of folks that have good footage or photos of flooding that they can provide us, that's beneficial. We've got friends that have drones that are taking aerial imagery. Took a lot of this Livingston area, 9th Street Island, Cybeck Island as of yesterday. But part of what we're required to do is document everything and take lots of photographs. So if you know of people in areas like Silvergate, Cook City, Gardner area that have photographs, or if you receive them, feel free to forward them on to our office just to help us with documentation.
Erica, do you have anything? Anybody else online have an update?
I think we're done, Bill.
Well, Matt and I might go take a tour of the Gardner Basin then. Thank you all. Erica, are you sure all our tech can work underwater?
No, we're just Steven's living out at the search and rescue building. I was out there for 12 hours yesterday. We're just supporting our efforts the best we can, both GIS and IT wise. And yep, I'm just going to work on the website today because we're getting a lot of complaints about that. So that's my focus today.
Yeah, and the tech is really important. Gardner has an incident team now, and they're tied in with the Livingston team. So being able to use these online tools is absolutely critical.
Yep.
Steve, are you on?
I don't see that he's on, Mike, Bill.
Well, how about we go ahead and adjourn and everybody get back to work, and thank you. You are the leadership team for the coolest county in the country, and we got challenges. Take good care.
Thanks, everyone.
See you later. Buenos County.
I think the important